Welcome back into the Daily Dose. I'm Jeff Hansen. As always, the show's brought to you by Give'emHellBrigham.com or GEHB.co. Check us out. It's a freemium style newsletter. You can subscribe for free. If you like what you see, you want more content, we have a VIP model where you can pay a few bucks a month and get access to more VIP content, insider information, all that good stuff. That's GEHB.co or Give'emHellBrigham.com. It's a big weekend here in the state of Utah. High school football is officially underway. Lone Peak took down Bingham yesterday in the kickoff game. Tonight, a full slate of high school football games. This is the best time of the year. There's football season, and then there is waiting for football season. We've officially crossed the line. It's football season. High school football is great. We'll have a ton of coverage for you over at KSLSports.com tonight. So check us out. Lots of BYU recruits will be littered throughout the state. There is a ton of talent and hopefully a ton of talent that will eventually find their way to Provo and play for the Cougars. And that's really why you're here and why you care. Cash Dillon is one of those players who will play in the state of Utah tonight. He's set to announce his commitment on Saturday. I don't love BYU's chances. BYU did a lot. They did a really, really good job. They made this decision really difficult. A year ago, Cash had completely eliminated BYU. But look, only one team can sign him in the end, and I don't think that's going to be BYU. That stinks. That sucks. Is it time to panic? Not yet time to panic, but it doesn't feel great. And the margin for error just got a little bit thinner for the BYU defensive coaches. Essentially, they've got to go all in on Devo Tuataga now, defensive end out of Cedar Valley. If BYU lands Devo Tuataga, hey, whoever gets Cash can win, and BYU can win too. Everybody wins. Everybody's happy. If BYU misses on Tuataga, then it's time to panic a little bit, and it starts to hurt. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, I am following through on the promise I gave to you yesterday. Today's depth chart day. We looked at the defensive depth chart where I think the two deep stands right now. Today we look at the offensive side of the ball, and I think we know a lot more things about the offensive side of the ball. So let's dig right into it and get into the depth chart. At left tackle, there's no questions. We'll start there. Kingsley Suamataia is that guy. He's that guy. He's going to be a first-round NFL draft pick. The only thing that prevents Kingsley from leaving BYU this year and going into the first round of the NFL draft next year is injury. That's the only thing. If he is healthy for even most of BYU's games this year, he will be a first-round draft pick and the third consecutive left tackle from BYU to get drafted. No question he's the starter going into Sam Houston State. Behind him, I have Simi Moala behind him, but at the offensive tackle position, if Kingsley goes down, could Caleb Etienne flip over from right tackle and end up starting over Simi Moala? Yeah, he could. Braden Keim could also maybe start over Simi Moala. Simi Moala could play right tackle if Etienne slides over. So there's lots of fluidity there in terms of what would actually happen in the event of an injury. But I think on a two deep, what you're going to see on paper, I like Kingsley and I like Simi Moala behind him. At left guard, I think Connor Pay ultimately ends up playing guard, not center. I've thought he plays center all along, but he's still cross-training at both positions. And if I look historically at what Aaron Roderick has liked, he likes having a dominant left side of the offensive line, right? Go back in time. That's Brady Christensen and Clark Barrington playing together. That's Blake Freeland and Clark Barrington playing together. I think Connor Pay and Kingsley Suamataia playing together on the left side could be the most dominating left side of the offensive line that Aaron Roderick has had. And I think that's what he ultimately goes with. He could rely, if you have those two on the left side of the offensive line, leading the run game, and Aiden Robbins following in behind him, that is a weapon that I think Roderick will go to again and again and again. So I think Connor Pay ultimately plays guard. I have Ian Fitzgerald behind him right now, but kind of like the tackles, there's lots of mixing and matching that could actually happen in the event of an injury. If Pay is playing guard, Paul Miley is playing center. Behind him, I have Peter Falanico, but he'll be battling it out with Weston Jones. But again, in reality, if Paul Miley goes down, Connor Pay is playing center. That's just the way that it works. But on a two deep, I like Falanico or potentially Weston Jones there behind Paul Miley. Right guard, I think Waylon Lapuaho, the Utah State transfer, wins out. I like Trevin Osler behind him. We're not talking much about Trevin Osler. When he signed with BYU out of Bountiful High School, he was like 230 pounds and looked like he could play on the wing for Mark Pope on the basketball team. Now he's 330 pounds and looks every bit of an offensive guard at the college level. I like Osler as the backup for Lapuaho. And at right tackle, Caleb Etienne and Braden Keim, who we've already kind of talked about. Lots of mixing and matching that could happen there in the event of an actual injury. But on paper, I think those are the 10 guys who I would put on paper. I think those are the 10 guys who Daryl Funk would put on paper today. There's other names in the mix. Jake Eichhorn could be in the mix. Jake Griffin could be in the mix. People have forgotten about Jake Griffin, but I think he's the future at one of the tackle spots. Maybe he gets there a little bit early as a freshman. Weston Jones is also a factor. He was billed as the center of the future a few years ago when he signed. Maybe he's still that guy shaking off the mission rust. He is a freshman. He's got to shake off the mission rust, but the future is bright for Weston Jones. There's not a lot of questions about the capability of the offensive line room, the depth of the offensive line room, but ultimately you're just figuring out the right combination. This is how I would do it. Moving to the wide receivers, Chase Roberts, Cody Epps, Keanu Hill. Put them, whoever is inside, whoever's outside, whoever's in the slot, those are the three guys, and nobody's going to debate that. Now, I don't think that the gap between Chase Roberts and Darius Lassiter is very big. In fact, I could see a scenario where Lassiter ends up starting. I don't think he will, but I think he could. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Lassiter has maybe the best hands on the team, and BYU is going to rely on him a lot. On the other side, I think Keelan Marion, could he start over Cody Epps? Probably not. Could he start over Keanu Hill? I don't think he will. But if he started at either one of those spots, I wouldn't be that surprised. He's got some chemistry with Keaton Slovis. He's a really talented, aggressive wide receiver. He's going to find his way on the field. Those are your top 5 guys, and all 5 of them are going to play a ton. As that 6th wide receiver, I give Parker Kingston the nod right now. Talmadge Gunther's had a great camp. JoJo Phillips is practicing and starting to show some promise as well. But I like Parker Kingston, his 2nd year in the program. He brings a different element to the BYU receiver core that some of those other guys don't. So I like Parker Kingston at wide receiver 6 right now. Tight end spot, no doubt about it. The Elk, Isaac Rex. He's the top guy, a friend of the show here at the Daily Dose. We love Isaac Rex. And look, when he plays this year, he's playing with confidence. He's playing with help. Even in just clips from Twitter, from practice, you can see he is more fluid. He's quicker. He's more fleet of foot. He's more elkish than he was last year when he was still kind of hampered down by that ankle injury. Playing with confidence. He's playing with health. Isaac Rex is back, and I expect a huge year for him. Behind him, I'm giving Ethan Erickson the nod today. That could be Anthony Olson by the time camp breaks. That could be Jackson Bowers by the time camp breaks. All 4 of those tight ends, I think, will play. And ultimately, the 2 deep in the pecking order gets decided on the field with game reps, not with practice reps, because all 3 of those guys, Erickson and Olson and Bowers, are playing really well in practice. I think it's razor thin between them. Mason Wake, we wish him the best of luck. Air Wake announced that he's stepping away from football. That's a bummer. He's a special player. He did a lot of really good things for BYU. In terms of on-field production, this tight end room is well equipped to handle a loss like Mason Wake, but it's a bummer. This team was better with Mason Wake there, and we wish him the best of luck as he continues on with his post-football life now at this point. At running back, I don't think there's any surprises. Aiden Robin and Deion Smith. I do think Hinkley Ropati has firmly established himself as the 3rd running back on this roster. All 3 of them are going to play, but hey, it's a 2 deep. It's not a 3 deep. Aiden Robbins, the unquestioned RB1, and I think Deion Smith gets the nod over Ropati right now. And then at quarterback, Keaton Slovis, he's been the starter for months, and he will continue to be the starter as long as he is healthy. I do think Jake Retzlaff has locked down the quarterback 2 position. I know that Kalani is saying otherwise. I know that A-Rod is saying it's still open, and maybe it technically is. But in my mind, it's Jake Retzlaff's job to lose. Ryder Burton, Cade Finnegan, maybe they could knock him off of that QB2 line, but it's not an open competition in my mind, and I don't think in the mind of the coaches that QB2 spot is actually blank. I think it's Jake Retzlaff, and everybody is chasing him. Maybe they catch him, but right now I think Jake Retzlaff is that guy. There's a lot of other players on the offense who I think are going to find time. They are going to be factors. We mentioned Griffin and Eichhorn and Jones. JoJo Phillips and Gunther, Ropati. I do think Ryder Burton is right there as well. He's just so young. He's still only 17 years old. I mean, so there's a lot of players who I think could play on the offense. But ultimately, I think that these 22 guys, I think we're pretty close here on what the coach's 22 guys would look like. Unlike the defense, the offense feels like there's a lot fewer questions. Like things feel a little bit more clear cut. Maybe that's because we've seen this scheme in production. We know what to expect from Aaron Roderick's offense. Therefore, we know what to expect from the players within that offense. Maybe it's just because the two deep really is that cut and dry on the offensive side of the ball, and they're just working on chemistry at this point. Whatever it is, it does feel like the offense has significantly fewer question marks than the defense. And I think that we're pretty close right now with where things stand today in this projection of the offensive two deep. Thank you guys for tuning into the Daily Dose. I appreciate your support so much. And until next time, give them hell.